Good evening, YouTubers. Welcome back into another edition of Astros Recap. David Artis back at it here to break things down. A lot to unpack, a lot to talk about. Try to keep things not super long today. It is Sunday night, 10:08 p.m. I would have done this at work today. That was the original plan, but then I remembered the Astros had the night game. So I couldn't do it at work because I get off at 8 and the Astros started at 6 and the game just ended about an hour ago. So Astros do get the win today to avoid the sweep. They really should have taken 2 or 3 in the series, so that's a little disappointing. But at least salvaging the game today makes the off day not as bad tomorrow. Hate going into off days losing, especially if it was off of a sweep. Would have been even worse. I mean, I take off for St. Louis tomorrow, and we're going there to watch the Astros. And I'd kind of like them to be playing good baseball as we get in. But yeah, things have not been very good for the Astros of late. They did win the game today. It shouldn't have ended the way it did. The outcome ended the way it should have, but we were leading big. And we'll talk about this, not super big, but we will talk about this coming up. But the Astros did their job against the Mets, winning 2 of 3 after losing the opener, so they did bounce back. We scored nothing on Monday, basically, and that's been the story of the Astros this year. I mean, we'll point to one guy in the bullpen here in a little bit. That's been a complete and utter disaster and disgrace to the pitching profession. But the offense, I feel like 95% of the time, is the reason we lose baseball games. The offense that's usually been top 5 in Major League Baseball each of the last, if you take out 2020, but I'm thinking 17, 18, 19, 21, 22. I mean, 5 of the last 6 years, they've been sort of tops in a lot of offensive categories, or at least top 5. That's not been the case. They're right in the middle of the pack this year. Now, I know injuries have played a part, not having Altuve for almost 2 months, and Brantley hasn't played at all this year, and Alvarez now in the IL. Like, I understand injuries, but I never like to look at that and use it as an excuse, okay? Like, people have to step up. That's the way things work. When people get hurt, see if I can move this a little bit here. Sorry, I'm dealing with this right now, but it's a little better, I think. But yeah, the Astros have people that should be playing better baseball. And I've stated this. If you read my descriptions after each one of these podcasts, I clearly state the fact that, you know, there's people in the lineup that need to be better. Talk about a lot of that. But yeah, the Astros lose games, it's the offense 95% of the time. And again, that was a story on was it Monday? Yeah, Monday. And they didn't pitch or hit. They lost 11-1. I think Diaz had the lone solo home run, but I mean, everything was bad. Hunter Brown was not very good. Hunter Brown was good today, which we'll talk about him in a minute, but Hunter Brown, not his best outing. Max Scherzer, who's struggled for the majority of the year, but they didn't hit him. I mean, he went 8 innings, I think, if this ever pulls up properly here. But yeah, Scherzer goes 8 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, struck out 8, walked 1. And yeah, I mean, Hunter Brown, let's see, I got to redo this stupid thing every time. But Hunter Brown goes 5 2/3 with 6 earned runs. Ouch. That's a tough one. Really, it was the 1 inning that blew up. He gave it 5 runs in the 3rd, and that was pretty much the story of the game. Now, the Astros brought in the new guy they just brought up, Dubin. I think it's Sean Dubin, if I'm not mistaken. See if that pulls up here. I want to make sure I get his first name right. Yeah, Sean Dubin, who pitched 3 innings to save the bullpen after Stanek pitched to 3rd just to get out of the 6th there. He gave up 5 runs in the 9th, so yeah. But the goal with him was just to not, eat up the innings, basically. That game was over at that point in time. But you bounced back Tuesday 4-2. I mean, so you scored enough runs. Framber Valdez was good. He got the win, deserved it. Astros scored enough off of Verlander. Presley bounces back, gets the save. So pretty good bounce back in a win they desperately needed. I mean, think about it. They had lost, 5 in a row going into that game. So things were at an all-time low right there. But they win that, and they barely hold them off on Wednesday. The offense was good that day. They scored 10 runs. But, you know, Christian Javier is the guy we need to keep an eye on, because I feel like the last handful of outings he hasn't been very good. And he was not good in this game. But the offense bailed him out. No decision. He only pitched 2 1/3. 4 earned runs. Walked 5. Struck out 1. That's a terrible start for Javier. The ERA is still at 3.25. But the bullpen hung in there, basically. Martinez gave up 2 earned runs. Not good there. Maton was good in his 4 outs he got, striking out 3. Montero, I mean, what else is new? He pitches an inning. I mean, the Astros were up, I think, 3 or 4 at the time. But Montero, God, I just can't believe. Like, the way I look at this, and we're going to talk about Montero, obviously, today. Maybe I'll just go on my chest right now. But the way I look at Montero, like, going into this year, I mean, Montero was good last year, so, I mean, we're hoping for more of the same, right? I mean, he's one of the few guys I actually trust in the bullpen last year, throughout the year. But once you struggle, first 3, 4, 5, whatever, how many outings it was, like, I'm at the point where I'm not even blaming Montero anymore. Like, he should be DFA'd tomorrow morning, and if he's not, I'm brutally depressed. Not depressed, but angry at management, whoever makes these decisions. But I blame Dusty Baker at this point. No, I don't blame Montero anymore. He is who he is. He's terrible. Last year was an anomaly. He needs to be off this team and DFA'd tomorrow morning. I mean, what more does it take? And you can't trust Dusty because Dusty continues to want to use him in tight situations, which is just beyond belief. I mean, use your brain. Dusty, use your brain. God, today oh my God, I just feel like throwing things all around. I just feel like having this big temper tantrum every time he comes in the game. But I'm done blaming Montero. This is on Dusty. Every time Montero comes in and blows it like he did today, it's on Dusty. I know I'm sort of going off on a rampage here, and I don't want to do that, but this is on Dusty Baker now. It's not Montero. And I mean, what does Dana Brown think? Dana Brown should maybe manage the team because Dusty can't do it properly. But anyway, he stunk. Got through the inning at least. Struck out 2. Gave up just a absolute. It wasn't a bomb of a home run, but that ball was hit like he gives up hard contact. He just can't do anything right. Period. End of story. Neris comes in. Neris is the one guy in the bullpen I actually trust. Everybody else, not really. Abreu came in, walked a guy, struck out 2. He's okay. Presley gets the save. But I'll take the 2 or 3 against New York, especially after losing the opener. To come back and win back-to-back games is pretty. That's good. LA, obviously the goal here after the off day Thursdays win 2 or 3 now. Friday game they lost wasn't a big issue for me. I mean, it wasn't like crushing, heartbreaking. But again, they didn't score. They scored 2 runs, 2 home runs really, and then nobody else even threatened the rest of the game. So, yeah. But they lost that game. Let's see who pitched here. Not thinking proper. JP France, pretty good. I mean, I think it was a quality start. I mean, he went 6 innings and gave up 3 runs. I think. I'm going to double check that. Yeah. I mean, 8 hits, that's not good. But 3 earned runs, walked 2, struck out 4. I mean, that's a quality start. But, you know, a lot of times, especially of late, quality starts aren't good enough. So, but they kept it right there. I mean, Stanek came in, scoreless inning. Struck out the side. I gave a hit, though, as well. Neris had a clean inning, too, there in the 8th. Yeah, 8th inning. But, yeah, hit back-to-back home runs. It was Dubon and it was Tucker, and then that was it. So, but losing that game, obviously don't like to lose, but that's an acceptable loss in terms of, well, they were pretty much down the entire game. So, did tie it for a moment there. But Saturday's game, Worst one of the year, I think, no question. I mean, we've had some tough losses in the last month. I mean, you go back to, obviously, Sunday's game last week against Cincinnati. That was a tough extra inning loss. Definitely up there. I mean, before that, you had that one in Cleveland, that Friday 14-inning game where you had the lead, you're up 5-1, let it slip away, back and forth in extra innings, you end up losing. And even before that, there was a tough game in Toronto. I mean, the last 3 weeks, you look at things, they've had their 3 worst losses, and each one has been worse than the last. Toronto was bad, Cleveland a little worse, Cleveland was bad, but LA Saturday a little worse. Astros fall down 3-0 in this game, but they come back and the offense puts up 7 runs, and you have a 4-run lead going into the 7th inning, and your bullpen blows it. Maton, and I actually didn't see Maton give up the 2-run home run. Apparently gave one up here. I actually dozed off momentarily during that point in time, but really Brian Abreu, not been good this year, and he was not good in the 8th inning. Terrible, actually. But yeah, I don't disagree. Like this pitching rotation, the way it lined up. I mean, you had Renaud Blocker actually pitched well. So you get 3 runs in the first. Things weren't looking good, but he really settled down. And, I mean, he retired 14 of 15 guys at one point. Got through 6. Quality start for Renaud Blocker. I can't be upset with that. But Maton, Neris, Abreu, I can't be upset with the way Dusty arranged the bullpen for this game. But yeah, it didn't work out. Abreu was awful. I mean, he comes in, you're up 2 runs, and he walks 3 straight batters to start that inning, which set it up for failure. That was awful. Abreu's not a guy I'm comfortable. Like I said, Neris is the only guy in the bullpen I feel comfortable with. Maton to an extent, probably second in line. Presley's been able to get a few saves, so after having the struggle, so I can trust Presley a little bit, but that's about it. Yeah. Abreu, no. Stanek, maybe a little bit. Martinez has just used the mop-up roles, I feel like, and of course Montero is who he is, so Montero's just a disgrace. He's just a complete disaster this year. Bad move, whoever's decision it was to sign him. Last year was clearly an anomaly. He needs to be DFA'd sometime in the a.m. tomorrow morning. They shouldn't fly him to St. Louis. Dusty shouldn't be flown to St. Louis either. He should have to walk to St. Louis after his decision-making in today's game. But, yeah, that was a tough game to lose, to be up 7-3 and let it slip away the way that they did. And, obviously, the 8th run was the balk, which was a big thing there. My thoughts there. You know, you can argue with the umpire all you want. Now, I've heard different stories on whether it was a balk, it wasn't. I mean, there was a little bit of a knee buckle twitch that may have, I think that's what the umpire saw that called it. But bottom line, like, the way I felt after the balk was called and they scored their 8th run, like, whether I like the call or not, that really doesn't matter because the call was made and there's nothing you can do to change it. So arguing is not going to do you much good. I mean, arguing is going to do nothing. I can sit there and be upset with it, but bottom line is the call was made and it scored the 8th and, go-ahead run. Now, there's no guarantee the Astros win that game, even if he doesn't balk because it's tied and you're about to go into extra innings, which the Astros don't win extra inning games, aside from today. But yeah, whether you like the call or don't like the call, bottom line, the call was made and there's nothing you can do about it. So that's kind of how I felt after the game ended. But yeah, the bullpen, like that, they didn't lose the game because of that balk. They lost the game because of people like, Brian Abreu mostly was terrible. I mean, he couldn't throw strikes. Couldn't do it. Couldn't throw strikes. It's bad to load the bases when you have, short 1-2 run lead. It's bad that the leadoff walk always comes back to bite you. Late in games, if you're up a run, tied, whatever it might be, that leadoff walk is just a recipe for disaster. And, well, I mean, Abreu compounded things by walking 3 straight guys to start the inning, and then it was just all downhill from there. And after Stanek gets out of the inning, he blows up in front of the umpire, which, I have no problem with. I mean, you're upset, and if you didn't think it was a balk, whatever. He was done anyway. Like, might as well get thrown out. I mean, it's not going to cost you anything. Your inning's done, and you're going down into the tunnel anyway. Dusty goes out there to get thrown out as well. I'm surprised Dusty didn't come out of the dugout initially, though. Like, when it was called, Dusty's in the dugout, like, all upset. I expected him to go out and argue at that point in time. Not that I think that's a big deal either way, but Stanek was obviously very upset and then aired out the umpire once he got out of the inning. But yeah, that's a game you can't lose. I don't blame the balk. I blame Brian Abreu mostly. And they had chances to really actually put up even more runs, and that definitely came back to bite them. I mean, they should have been up 6 runs at that point in time. But yeah, that was the worst loss of the season there. Today, cruising along, I mean, Hunter Brown was great. 6 innings, gave up 1 run. He was fantastic, bouncing back after his bad start on Monday. Offense scored some runs. Abreu had a 2-run home run, and Pena had a 2-run home run. So 4-1, cruising along. But you get into the late innings, and I'm playing things out in my head, like, because Hunter Brown's creeping near 80, 90 pitches. So we knew 6 innings was sort of going to be the limit there. But I'm playing things out in my head. Where do I go from here? And I'm thinking maybe I'm not using Abreu. I'm not using Montero. So I'm thinking in my head, Neris, gone 2 days in a row, but he only got 1 out yesterday. Only threw like 3-4 pitches. So Neris should be good. Off day tomorrow. I don't know who you use in the 7th. They brought in Maton there in the 7th, which I was completely okay with. At this point, I'm actually back on the road, driving home from work. So, and then I hear the tragic news that Montero is coming in to pitch the 8th, and just at that moment in time, I'm shaking my head. You just came off of a terrible game on Saturday where your bullpen completely let go, and you're going to turn to Montero, who's been a complete and utter disaster. And like I said, I'm not blaming Montero anymore. This is Dusty Baker's fault. I mean, Dusty, use your brain. What has Montero shown you that makes you think you get through? Like, 8th inning, like, it just makes 0 sense. Zero. Is it like zilch? I mean, what goes through Dusty Baker's brain? And the funny thing is Montero actually got 2 pretty easy outs, and it looked like, all right, maybe he can get through this. But you're holding your breath, and sure enough, I think he walks a batter. That's never good. And then Freeman hits. Again, I didn't see this. I was listening on the radio, so I guess it was a ball out into right field that Tucker couldn't get to off the wall. Scored a run. That's really when he should have been taken out, not let him, face Will Smith in this situation. So not only did Dusty screw up by not taking him, well, putting him in was a mistake. Obviously, that's a no-brainer. But you also let them in too long. And guess who comes in for him after he blows the game? Hector Neris. So you going to tell me Neris wasn't available? Inexcusable. That's a fireable offense. Dusty should be fired, and Montero should be DFA'd. Nothing would make me happier on the road tomorrow if Dusty Baker gets fired. That won't happen. Or Montero gets DFA'd, and I could see that happening, actually. But I would assume that whether it's Dana Brown doesn't have the guts to do it, but he should be DFA'd. And part of the reason they won't do it is because he's making so much money over 3 years, but he's lost all confidence. He has no idea what he's doing. He's been a complete disaster every time they give him the ball. I don't waste my time with Montero. DFA'd, gone, good riddance, goodbye. Every other pitcher, major and minor leagues, is better than he is. And it's not close. His ERA is at 7.71. He's been awful this year. Awful. And I blame Dusty Baker. And again, I don't like to be the guy that jumps on Dusty Baker, okay? But in this situation, it's 100% on Dusty Baker. And if they had lost the game today, because managers can get away with bad decisions. I mean, Dusty's already gotten away with a ton of bad decisions this year. But, so, I mean, there's a lot of games. Managers like Dusty Baker, AJ, they cost you more games than they win you. They don't win you games. Managers get in the way and they lose you games. And Dusty's proven to do that here. AJ Hinch proved to do it. Again, I want Joe Espada to manage this baseball team, and Dusty should have retired after last year because he's probably not enjoying this team right now, the way they're playing baseball. But the Astros do get to extra innings, and by some miracle, they actually do win. Give Presley credit. He actually got 2 innings. Low pitch count, though. He pitched a lot, but it was 2 scoreless, good innings for him. And then Martinez actually was able to shut the door. So, like, where were those guys in the 8th inning? Not Presley necessarily. You were saving him, but, I mean, Martinez is a guy I would have been fine seeing out there. Anybody other than Montero. I don't care who it was. But anybody other than Montero. So, yeah. They hold on 6-5. So, at least you salvage things. That game for me is more of a just a reminder of how bad Montero is, and hopefully Dusty Baker can take off the sunglasses, which he wears at night for some stupid reason, and actually watch the game and know who Rafael Montero is. I mean, if this doesn't tell you, I just don't get it. Doesn't make DFA tomorrow in the AM, please. Get him off this team. Awful. And Dusty Baker can't make just decent decisions with his brain. Open your eyes, Dusty. Come on. What more does he have to do? That should be the nail in the coffin should have been, a month ago, weeks ago, a week ago. If this isn't the nail in the coffin for Montero, what is? So I'm really watching Dusty very closely, but God, man, dude, that inexcusable. He should be walking to St. Louis right now. He should not be allowed, him and Montero should not be allowed on the plane to get to St. Louis tonight. They shouldn't be. They should be walking their asses from LA all the way up to St. Louis. If it takes you 5 days, so be it. Espada can manage better than Dusty, and I'd rather just play with 25 guys and leave Montero off this team. I need to stop, but I just shake my head. The minute he was brought in, I was shaking my head. I said, God, please. And sure enough, gets 2 outs, and you think maybe he can get out of it. Nope, he can't. Walk, double, home run, messed it up. Tie game. Astros are very fortunate to win that game. Very lucky. Extremely lucky. And that would have been on Dusty. That loss would have been 100% on Dusty Baker. Day off tomorrow. Long day for us driving, trying to get through most of the trip. And then Tuesday we plan to get there hopefully middle of the afternoon. And we got some time to do a few things before the game at 6:45. Tickets for that one. We'll probably take a tour Wednesday in the afternoon, go to that game as well, and then head back on Thursday. So, yeah, in the next 5 days, I'm going to bring my computer with me. In fact, the Astros will hit the exact 81 game mark after Thursday's game, I believe. I want to double check this, but yeah. Thursday night, I'll plan to be on. We'll probably be somewhere in Arkansas, maybe Tech. I don't know exactly where we'll be, but I plan to get on Thursday to give you my mid-season report. So I'm actually not going to... I usually like to end my podcast by going through the lineup and the pitching staff. I'm going to hold off on that just because I'll be getting to it on Thursday. But yeah, 3-3 this week. Should have been 4-2 at the very least. Should have been 4-2. I'll say that. Should have been 4-2, but it wasn't. Last week they were 2-4, suffered the sweep against the Reds. Week before that, they were 2-4. Hold on. 2-4 last week. They were 2-5 the week prior, I believe. So it just hasn't been good weeks. Week after week after week. Week before that, they were 4-3. 4-3, 2-5, 2-4, 3-3. But big week coming up. Not the St. Louis series necessarily. You got to win 2 or 3 there. No excuses. You got to take 2 or 3. And the big 4-game set with Texas. And kind of weird. That one actually sort of wraps around to Monday. But if I'm at work on Sunday, that's when I'll get to that, most likely. But we're getting close to the All-Star break as well here, as we'll actually hit the month of July, starting Saturday. And that 4-game set with Texas will be big. Now, the Astros do trail them by 5.5 games. LA lost today, so the Astros actually are a half game ahead of them. I'm looking at wildcard standings. Also, Toronto is actually holding that third wildcard spot. Astros a half game back, but yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I'll wrap things up there, and we'll talk to you again on Thursday. So, love to hear your comment section below. One more thing I want to bring up. I am looking into Spotify possibly for future podcasts. So Thursday will be probably like this on YouTube, but I'm possibly looking into a way to switch over to Spotify for my podcast going forward. But I will definitely give you an update on that as soon as I know more. I've been doing some research today. It's not done. I need to do more research on how to upload podcasts and sort of get a thing going there. But as far as now, I'm staying on YouTube for now, but going forward, I'm going to look into the Spotify deal. So just keep that in mind. But again, I'll definitely update you there. But again, I plan to talk to you again on Thursday night. That will be the goal. And that is exactly at the 81 game mark, which is halfway through. And I sort of give report cards and grades, and I give you my opinion of every 26th guy on the team. But I'll wrap things up there, and we'll see you Thursday night.